From the electric bass to the violin, from the sitar to the saxophone, to the infinite complexity of the human voice. A perfect loudspeaker must reproduce each sound with complete accuracy, and often 100 or more different sounds all at once. The speaker must disappear, leaving nothing of itself, so only the music comes through. This is the challenge faced by Infinity. Music is the obsession that started Infinity. The people who design and create Infinity speakers are not only physicists and engineers, they share a passion for the musical experience. As music lovers, they insist that Infinity speakers reproduce music with consummate accuracy. That's why 20 years ago, a laser physicist named Arnold Nudell and a group of other aerospace engineers began experimenting on speakers. They soon redefined the state of the audio arts.
We try to take the love of music and our passion for music with technology and the understanding of what music really sounds like and put it together and come out with something that hopefully is an advance forward in the art and science of reproduction of music.
They began working in a two-car garage, but they ended up creating an historic series of technological breakthroughs. Co-founder Cary Christie.
Well, it wasn't just theoretical physics that was involved. We had to do extensive materials research. In some cases, we had to develop our own. In other cases, we went to different disciplines to find things that would work for us.
The result? The Servo-Static 1. Electrostatic panels with a servo-controlled 18-inch woofer powered by its own servo amp. A speaker so far ahead of its time that the magazine High Fidelity proclaimed it state-of-the-art in 1969. And that was just the beginning. It was Infinity that created the world's first FET preamp. It was Infinity that created the world's first Class D switching amplifier. Infinity created the world's first low-mass tone arm, the Black Widow, which was the first use of graphite fiber technology in home audio. Infinity created the first polypropylene speaker cones and domes, the first samarium cobalt and rare earth neodymium driver magnets, the first polygraph mid-bass driver, and now the world's first polyspherite drivers. Infinity has created 7 distinct lines of speakers that have consistently expanded the frontiers of audio reproduction. Listen to what the toughest critics in the world have said about Infinity speakers.
The Infinity IRS has been widely accepted as the reference speaker, the speaker that defines the limits. From a musical point of view, the IRS Series 5 is a brilliant success. The soundstage is convincing in a way that no other line source loudspeaker I have ever heard can equal.
Strings are reproduced with rarely heard homogeneity and low discoloration. Percussion instruments result in acoustic fireworks. This speaker brings all the spatial information to the ear with rarely heard precision.
The Infinity RS9 Kappa speakers playfully unraveled even the most complicated orchestral passages, giving each musician enough room for his individual display.
The speakers have an open, clear sound quality with a noticeably more extended, better dispersed, and more powerful top end than our regular reference speakers, which are considerably more expensive.
The Infinity RS8 Kappa is a fine loudspeaker whose strong points are very low distortion, excellent high-frequency definition and clarity, sharp transients, smooth extended response, wide dynamic range, and a very appealing sense of spaciousness.
The word that most aptly describes the Infinity Betas is awesome. These speakers have a greater capability for standing one's hair on end than any system I have ever heard.
For 8 years, the Infinity IRS has been the core of the reference audio system used by the audiophile publication The Absolute Sound.
Infinity speakers have earned worldwide acclaim. But 20 years ago, before Infinity began, speakers were the weakest link in the audio reproduction chain. They always sounded like speakers, not like music. The Infinity engineers faced a huge problem. Conventional speakers actually created distortion by the very nature of their design and materials. For instance, traditional speakers used paper cone, dome, and metal horn tweeters. Paper cones and domes react unevenly to the movements of their voice coils, so they flex and ripple, robbing music of its clarity. Most attempts to make the cone stiffer also make it heavier, which means energy is wasted trying to move a heavy cone. The tweeter responds sluggishly to sharp impulse signals, smearing the sound. The music is veiled and lifeless. Traditional tweeters are also two-directional. With most speakers, you have to stand in just the right spot to get the best stereo sound. That's because high-frequency waves coming out of a tweeter act like water coming out of a hose nozzle. If the nozzle opening is large, the water comes out in a straight stream. But if the nozzle opening is very tiny, the water sprays widely. Traditional tweeters shoot the high-frequency waves straight out into the room, making them annoyingly directional. Horn tweeters attempted to solve the problem by squeezing the sound waves to spread them out, but this creates ringing and nasal distortion. Electrostatic speakers suspend a large, thin diaphragm between two charged electrodes. The diaphragm is light enough to respond well to the music, but because of their large size, they are extremely directional. The solution lay in a different direction, and Infinity characteristically researched the new materials of the aerospace industry for an answer. The breakthrough was the electromagnetic induction tweeter, or Emit, today widely accepted as the most musically accurate high-frequency reproducer in the world. The Emit uses a tiny, ultra-thin planar diaphragm made of Kapton, an exotic aerospace synthetic, combining low mass, high strength, and high temperature stability. It has the lowest mass of any tweeter. A thin voice coil is photo-etched right onto the Kapton diaphragm, suspended between arrays of special rare earth neodymium magnets, the strongest magnetic material known, 40% stronger than ferrite used in most speakers. The diaphragm is driven from both sides over its entire surface, so it responds with incredible speed, accuracy, and true push-pull motion control. This combination of low mass and intense magnetic field enables the Emit to respond with great speed and accuracy to the most delicate subtleties of the high frequencies, revealing an amazing clarity and transparency to the musical reproduction. You can hear the feather touch of a brush on a cymbal or the richness of a trumpet's harmonics more clearly than you've ever heard them. Equally important, the horizontal aperture opening of the Emit is only 1/8 of an inch wide, so the treble sound waves are dispersed evenly throughout the listening area. You hear detailed stereo sound field imaging and depth from every listening position. The frequency response of the Emit extends out beyond an amazing 45,000 hertz to reproduce the complex ultrasonic harmonics that define the timbre of live musical instruments and voices. Hidden details of the musical performance are brought out with brilliant clarity, openness, and enunciation. Infinity next brought the innovations of the Emit tweeter into the mid-range by creating the larger EMIM and LEMIM drivers. The mid-frequencies contain most of the human voice range and instrument fundamentals. The accuracy of the EMIM and LEMIM drivers reproduces the mid-range with equanimity, warmth, and unequaled precision. Having solved the problems of high-frequency and mid-range reproduction, the Infinity engineers next focused on solving the problems of woofer design. Every woofer enclosure combination has its own resonant frequency. When the music hits that resonant note, the woofer cone exaggerates its movement. The music sounds boomy and distorted. In 1984, Infinity solved the problem with a special computer-designed crossover network utilizing sophisticated LC tuning, specifically designed for each woofer enclosure combination.
LC tuning is a crossover technique that we use to eliminate the impedance peak that usually occurs in speaker systems at resonance. By eliminating this peak, amplifiers are able to deliver power into those frequencies, and consequently we're able to extend the frequency response of the speaker system to a very much lower frequency.
But there remains still one big problem with existing speaker technology. Paper and plastic speaker cones respond unevenly when hit with a very strong signal, like bass drum beats. They flex and resonate, blurring the sound. Moreover, paper is affected by sunlight, temperature, and humidity, so it eventually wears out. After exhaustive research, Infinity engineers hit on a polymer, polypropylene, reinforced by injection-molded graphite fibers, the same material used to reinforce the wings of the world's fastest jets. It's much stiffer than paper, yet very light. It can take a sharp impulse signal without flexing. The reproduction is tight and crisp. Polypropylene is a much more effective barrier against echoing back waves escaping from inside the enclosure. It takes heat up to 275 degrees, is unaffected by sunlight and humidity, and doesn't tear. For the ultimate in bass accuracy, Infinity engineers created the first servo-controlled woofers. An accelerometer on the woofer cone measures the real-time movement of the cone. A servo circuit instantaneously compares the cone movement with the signal coming from the amplifier. If any difference is found, a compensating signal is sent back to the amplifier, so the speaker cone movement is continuously corrected to conform exactly to the input signal, assuring total bass accuracy to the lowest frequency. That's why the bass response of Infinity speakers is so taut and smooth. They produce more bass more precisely than any other speakers in the world. Infinity speakers are equal to the challenge. We next applied our exotic new polypropylene and graphite fiber IRS technologies to the mid-range and tweeters to create the polygraph, polydome, and polyspherite drivers. A graphite fiber lattice is bonded to a polypropylene dome to give the polygraph mid-range unprecedented stiffness and damping at a very low mass. Infinity's revolutionary polyspherite dome contains a matrix of thousands of tiny hollow graphite spheres reinforced by an ultra-thin dome of polypropylene, yielding extremely low mass while retaining high rigidity. The polyspherite dome is so light and fast it far outperforms traditional dome drivers. Even the elegant curved design of Infinity cabinetry is no accident. Our engineers discovered that curved, mathematically precise cabinet surfaces help disperse the sound waves into the room more evenly. The understated beauty of Infinity's precision-crafted cabinets of hardwood solids and veneers have become an Infinity signature. All of these new Infinity technologies add up to one basic result: musical accuracy. So it was inevitable that Infinity came to create the ultimate statement in speaker accuracy, the incomparable Infinity Reference Standard 5, the IRS. 7.5 feet tall, 12 12-inch woofers, 24 Emit mid-ranges, 72 Emit tweeters, 2 2,000-watt servo-controlled amplifiers. Formidable in sound and in price, $50,000. Yet you get much of the same state-of-the-art technology, no matter which Infinity speaker you choose. Like the IRS Beta, with injection-molded graphite polypropylene servo woofers and the neodymium Emit tweeter. Or the Reference Standard 9 Kappa, a true 5-way system with the polygraph mid-bass coupler and the polydome mid-range driver, the new Emit super tweeter, and LC tuning for exceptional linearity in the deep bass. And of course, our lower-price RS series and Kappa automotive speakers share the same tweeter and driver innovations found in our most expensive speakers.